briefly forgot that I had a new microphone, but oh my god, sorry for that. But I remembered now. Ugh. Oh dear. Oh, bit sleepy today. Might be a little less long than usual. Had a plumber in my house all day. Kept me kept my brain all online too long. Hello, Mikey. Hello, hello, excellent. Excellent. Getting people in. I assume Psychic Seagull is uh uh oh my goodness. My head has lost any possible word except the S that's the beginning of your name. But never mind. Yes, it's you. Yes, alright. Today might not be so long. That's it. That's what it was. That's what it is. We might not go on so long today. I'm quite sleepy. Yes, it is. It is Death's favorite meme, adapted to be now book canon. Less funny than before. It's not as funny as the one I used originally, but now it is book canon correct, so it still works. Hello, Jamie, and hello, Honeybee. Excellent. We're getting everyone in. Uh, yeah. Yes, my. I'm still very proud of myself for this meme. Good. That is my that is the point. That was my whole purpose of this and of this meme entirely. So good. Um yeah. I feel like originally when I started these streams, I always had something to say about the previous stream in the like prelude. Um but but these days it feels like my whole head has just been, whenever I try to reach for some topic about Lord of the Rings, all I can think about is yet another new ridiculous leak that I've had to deal with about the new Lord of the Rings on Prime show that is still apparently incoming. Which is a shame because I actually preferred, I've always preferred talking about like the past stream, but maybe that will come back eventually, especially when I'm less tired. But these days, it's just me thinking about. It's just. It's just so unjust. It's just so unjust. It was one of the major things I was looking forward to, was being able to be like, well, the show uh the show just kind of is going to be about elves. Second Age is going to be mostly about elves. There'll be some Numenor and stuff, which I kind of vaguely care about, but in general, it's about elves. And if they're going to get anything wrong, it's going to be about the elves, and I'll be able to watch all the elf fuckers be real mad about that, and I'll get some manner of like very petty catharsis over this. That will be my treat. But no, apparently Amazon said no. We're just gonna do it to you again, but this time we're gonna get Gondor wrong at its infancy, at the beginning of Gondor's whole life, and I have to deal with them saying what they think Isildur looks like, and what Anarion looks like, and what Elendil looks like. I'm just not. It's so. It's just so. Yeah, exactly, Mikey. That's the feeling. Yeah. Um. I. The other issue is that I don't dislike Maxim Baldry as Isildur, especially a very young Isildur, if that's what they're doing. Um. I don't dislike him. Um. I'm not. I'm not sure. I would. He's a little. I mean, he's not a jock, or at least he looks too tender and philosophical to be a jock, which we know Isildur was, at least somehow. But I mean, it's not bad. It's pretty good. I'm not against it. I'm not against it, which means that I get excited. I'm getting excited, which is very bad. It's a real danger. That I'm getting excited about the story because it's gonna. Anyway, never mind. We'll not discuss this too long. We'll not discuss this too long because we have other things to talk about anyway. We I the the just what was I talking about last time that I was thinking about? That's how they get you. Exactly, Des. Exactly. That is how they get you. Mm. Ah, yeah. I, I, the just to explain the meme, um, uh, because I like talking about it. Uh, it's just still so very fun to me. It's just still the funnest thing I can talk about. That Gandalf is like, oh no! What if Denethor uses the Palantir in an hour of desperation? That would be terrible. He can't do that. And then he rushes off with Pippin, thinking that he's about to save Gondor. He gets on his horse, runs through the night, gets there, and then has this very awkward conversation where he does not know. He still doesn't know. I'm pretty sure Gandalf still doesn't know, even after the end of that conversation, that Denethor has been using this Palantir for the entirety of his 34 odd years of being steward. And that's just still, it's still so funny to me. And it's like, okay, so that means that, so in Aragorn's estimation, Denethor has been fighting a battle of the Hornburg every day for the past 34 years. Oh. I mean, I'm sure it's hard for you. I'm sure it's hard for you, Aragorn. I shouldn't be so mean. I'm sure you find it really difficult. It's just Denethor doesn't. Denethor finds it fine. No, that's true. Gandalf just doesn't know anything. And he really wants to. And then that's the problem. Like, he feels like he knows so much. Hello, Alexander. Exactly. Exactly. He believes he knows a lot. People around him are either like, yeah, you seem really confident about this, we're going to believe you, or, um, we've believed you in the past, and then it's been a problem. So what if I question what you do? And then Gandalf's like, you can't fucking question what I do. You can't question what I do. We're about to get into more of Aragorn's very just antisocial behavior, just being mean to his friends. Aragorn's about to just be mean to his friends again, which is just great, wonderful. We love Aragorn being mean to his friends. I think we're also about to get to Aragorn being absolutely awful to Eowyn, like truly awful. He's about to be to Eowyn. Like in the film, it's like he's so gentle, he like lifts her up, but that's not like yes, okay, all right. He is. I think in the book, I actually can't remember, but I think in the book he is like uh bugger. He's dissuading her from this infatuation she has with him, but um but like he's also about to say yes, excellent, yes, we all do. He's also about to just say some really brutal shit to her and and be just so cold. He's gonna be so cold to her, and it's gonna be fun for us to read. It's gonna be fun for us to read, and it's good to just keep getting all of these receipts for Aragorn and his character. Uh, uh yes. Oh, Antonia, here you are. Lovely. Oh, I'm so glad that we have Antonia here as well. He is, yes, this is the thing. This is the issue. Again, I will keep saying this until the dawn of time. Until the end of time, sorry. Aragorn in the book. In fact, no, sorry. Restart. the Lord of the Rings film is not a film of the Lord of the Rings books. It is a film that took inspiration from the Lord of the Rings books and then told a very different story with very different characters, almost all of them. Oh, the Don't Get Cycle Back time to confirmed. Oh, well, excellent. Great. Well, we'll abuse that, won't we? We will use that fact. Yeah, very nice. Uh, but yeah, they're just so Aragorn in the films is just not the same man. He's just not the same man. We might as well name them differently because they're just not the same people. And it's like, can you imagine soft, gentle, tender Aragorn in the film being like not being able to stop himself from calling Barliman fat, like at any chance he gets, any moment he's like, I gotta call this man fat, even when he's not present, even when. And here he is. Wait, did I say it again? You're joking. I don't think I did. I don't actually believe you. Rewind the tape. I don't believe I said it again. I don't believe I said it again. I wasn't even talking about Gandalf that time. I wasn't even talking about Gandalf that time. Somebody clip it and then you can prove it to me later. But fine, yes, it's true. Oh, good point. Good point. That's true. Garagorn is the film version. He's too pure. Garagorn is a beautiful man. Thank you for reassuring me of that. But anyway, hello Kaz. Delighted to have you in. Welcome. I hope you feel welcomed into the stream today. I hope it all feels very homely for you. Yeah. Anyway, well, let's get started. And so I mean, Kaz has seen the meme, and that's all we needed. The updated now canon meme. Yes. Yes, yes, exactly. The updated canon meme. Kaz has seen it, and that's it. So we can get started on the reading. Just for everyone who's just come in here, I'm a little tired today. So it might be a little shorter than normal. Even though actually last time it was quite short as well. So we'll see how it goes. But we'll get on to, and we have another new walking video as well. I did another one just today because we're in the well. I got us through the paths of the dead. But I don't think that's what we're actually going to be doing in the reading at the moment, but I thought that was thematically correct anyway, because that's the direction that Aragorn's going. So we've got that. So on we move to, and we go through we go through Meduseld, and we go through Dunharrow, which is nice, and etc. etc. And we go to the Stone of Eric as well. So we'll hopefully that's good. New walking video, yes. I'm just really in love with this little excited Poliwag. He makes me very happy. Jamie just brings in like the most endearing little weird fucking emotes into this stream. Anyway, yes. So last time we just gotten to the bit where Merry had given Theoden his sword and been vouched into his service in an incredibly thematically similar way to Pippin offering his service to Denethor. So now we have our two hobbits being esquires of Rohan and steward and stuff. And I'm afraid Honeybee did not give me a new chat highlight from last time. So and when that happens, I do tend to just favor Dess's just brutal evisceration of the Tolkien academic community. So that's what we have. All right, yes, but yeah, so he's just done that like just now. So this is immediately afterwards. They talked then together as they ate, until presently Eomer spoke. "It is near the hour that we set for our going, lord," he said. "Shall I bid the men sound the horns? But where is Aragorn? His place is empty, and he has not eaten." "We will make ready to ride," said Theoden, "but let word be sent to the Lord Aragorn that the hour is nigh." The king, with his guard and Merry at his side, passed down from the gate of the burg to where the riders were assembling on the green. Many were already mounted. It would be a great company, for the king was leaving only a small garrison at the burg, and all who could be spared were riding to the weapon-take at Edoras. 1,000 spears had indeed already ridden that way at night. But still there would be some 500 more to go with the king, for the most part men from the fields and dales of Westfold. A little apart the rangers sat, silent, in an ordered company, armed with spear and bow and shield. They were clad in cloaks of dark grey, and their hoods were cast now over helm and head. Their horses were strong and of proud bearing, but rough-haired, and one stood there without a rider, Aragorn's own horse that they had brought from the north. Rohirrim, that's it, Rohirrim was his name. There was no gleam of stone or gold, or any fair thing in all their great harness, nor did their riders bear any badge or token, save only that each cloak was pinned upon the left shoulder by a brooch of silver, shaped like a rayed star. The king mounted his horse, Snowmane, and Merry sat beside him on his pony, Stibber, or Stibber. We're going to go for Stibber for now. Well, Stibber was his name. Presently Éomer came out from the gate, and with him was Aragorn and Halbarad, bearing the great staff, close furled in black, and 2 tall men, neither young nor old. So much alike they were, the sons of Elrond, that few could tell them apart, dark-haired, grey-eyed, and their faces elven fair, clad alike in bright mail beneath cloaks of silver grey. Behind them walked Legolas and Gimli, but Merry had only eyes for Aragorn, so startling was the change that he saw in him, as if in one night many years had fallen on his head. Grim was his face, grey-hued and weary. "I am troubled in mind, lord," he said, standing by the king's horse. "I have heard strange words, and I see new perils far off. I have laboured long in thought, and now I fear that I must change my purpose. Tell me, Theoden, you ride now to Dunharrow? How long will it be ere you come there?" "It is now full hour past noon," said Éomer. "Before the night of the 3rd day from now we should come to the hold. The moon will then be 1 night past its full, and the muster that the king commanded will be held the day after. More speed we cannot make, if the strength of Rohan is to be gathered." Aragorn was silent for a moment. 3 days, he murmured, and the muster of Rohan will only be begun. But I see that it cannot now be hastened. He looked up, and it seemed that he had made some decision. His face was less troubled. "Then, by your leave, lord, I will take new counsel for myself and my kindred. We must ride for our own road, and no longer in secret. For me, the time of stealth has passed. I will ride east by the swiftest way, and I will take the paths of the dead." "The paths of the dead," said Theoden, and trembled. "Why do you speak of them?" Éomer turned and gazed at Aragorn, and it seemed to Merry that the faces of the riders that sat within hearing turned pale at the words. "If there be in truth such paths," said Theoden, "their gate is in Dunharrow, but no living man may pass it." "Alas, Aragorn, my friend," said Éomer, "I had hoped that we should ride to war together, but if you seek the paths of the dead, then our parting has come, and it is little likely that we shall meet again under the sun." "Well, that road I will take, none the less," said Aragorn. "But I say to you, Éomer, that in battle we may yet meet, though all the hosts of Mordor should stand between." "You will do as you will, my lord Aragorn," said Theoden. "It is your doom, maybe, to tread strange paths that others dare not. This parting grieves me, but my strength is lessened by it. But now I must take the mountain roads and delay no longer. Farewell." "Farewell, lord," said Aragorn. "Ride unto great renown. Farewell, Merry. I leave you in good hands, better than we hoped when we hunted for the orcs to Fangorn. Legolas and Gimli will still hunt with me, I hope, but we shall not forget you." "Oh, goodbye," said Merry. He could find no more to say. He felt very small, and he was puzzled and depressed by all these gloomy words. More than ever he missed the unquenchable cheerfulness of Pippin. The riders were ready, and their horses were fidgeting. He wished they would start and get it over. I know. Oh, poor Poor baby, indeed. Um, is the volume okay? I'm kind of turned slightly away. Can you hear me all right? Just checking. Superb. We'll keep going. Um, Now Theoden spoke to Aemir, and he lifted up his hand and cried aloud, and with that word the riders set forth. They rode over the dike and down the coombe, and then, turning swiftly eastwards, they took a path that skirted the foothills for a mile or so, until bending south, it passed back among the hills and disappeared from view. Aragorn rode to the dike, and watched till the king's men were far down the coombe. Then he turned to Halbarad. "There go three that I love, and the smallest not the least," he said. "He knows not to what end he rides, yet if he knew, he would still go on." "A little people, but of great worth, are the Shire folk," said Halbarad. "Little do they know of our long labour for the safe keeping of their borders, and yet I grudge it not." "And now our fates are woven together," said Aragorn, "and yet, alas, here we must part. Well, I must eat a little, and then we also must hasten away. Come, Legolas and Gimli, I must speak with you as I eat." Together they went back into the burg, yet for some time Aragorn sat silent at the table in the hall, and the others waited for him to speak. "Come," said Legolas at last, "speak and be comforted, and take off the shadow. What has happened since we came back to this grim place in the grey morning?" "A struggle somewhat grimmer for my part than the battle of the Hornburg," answered Aragorn. "I have looked into the stone of Orthanc, my friends." "You have looked into that accursed stone of wizardry?" Ah, the Scots accent's still gonna. Um. I will leave that unremarked, but I like it very much, Mikey. I'm trying to. I meant to re-acquaint myself with the concept of a Scots accent before I had started the stream, and I totally forgot. Uh, Fuck. Um. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, it's still mixed so intently with Devonshire. We're gonna have to still. Okay. "You have looked in that accursed stone of bugger it all, in that accursed stone of wizardry," exclaimed Gimli with fear and astonishment in his face. "Did you say aught to him? Did Gandalf even Gandalf feared that encounter?" Now it's fucking Irish. I this is this mm, this is very difficult. Yes, indeed, do drag him. But this is the moment where Aragorn just starts being a real bitch. But I've got to at least. For some reason, I can't just use an English accent for Gimli as either. Like I'm pinned. I'm at the mercy of something in my brain that will not allow me to do this. Uh, "You have looked in that accursed stone of wizardry?" exclaimed Gimli with fear and astonishment in his face. "Did you say aught to him? Even Gandalf feared that encounter." "You forget to whom you speak," said Aragorn sternly, and his eyes glinted. "Did I not openly proclaim my title before the doors of Edoras? What do you fear that I should say to him?" "Nay, Gimli," he said, in a softer voice, and the grimness left his face, and he looked like one who had laboured in sleepless pain for many nights. "Nay, my friends, I am the lawful master of the stone, and I had both the right and the strength to use it, or so I judged. The right cannot be doubted. The strength was enough. Barely." He drew a deep breath. "It was a bitter struggle, and the weariness is slow to pass. I spoke no word to him, and in the end I wrenched the stone to my own will. That alone he will find hard to endure. And he beheld me. Yes, Gimli, he saw me, but in other guise than you see me here. If that will aid him, then I have done ill, but I do not think so. To know that I lived and walked the earth was a blow to his heart, I deem, for he knew it not till now. The eyes in Orthanc did not see through the armour of Theoden, but Sauron has not forgotten Isildur and the sword of Elendil. Now, in the very hour of his great designs, the heir of Isildur and the sword are revealed, for I showed the blade reforged to him. He is not so mighty yet that he is above fear, nay, doubt gnaws ever at him. But he wields great dominion none the less, said Gimli, and now he will strike more swiftly. The hasty stroke oft goes astray, said Aragorn. We must press our enemy, and no longer wait upon him for the move. See, my friends, when I had mastered the stone, I learned many things. A grave peril I saw coming unlooked for upon Gondor from the south, that will draw off great strength from the defence of Minas Tirith. If it is not countered swiftly, I deem that the city will be lost ere 10 days be gone. Then lost it must be, said Gimli. For what help is there to send thither, and how could it come there in time? I have no help to send, therefore I must go myself, said Aragorn. But there is only one way through the mountains that will bring me to the coastlands before all is lost. That is the paths of the dead. The paths of the dead, said Gimli. It is a fell name and little to the liking of the men of Rohan, as I saw. Can the living use such a road and not perish? And even if you pass that way, what will so few avail to counter the strokes of Mordor? The liking have never used the road since the coming of the Rohirrim. The living have never used, said Aragorn, for it is closed to them. But in this dark hour the heir of Isildur may use it if he dare. Listen, this is the word that the sons of Elrond bring to me from their father in Rivendell, wisest in lore. Bid Aragorn remember the words of the seer and the paths of the dead. And what may be the words of the seer? Said Legolas. Thus spoke Malbeth the seer in the days of Arvedui, last king at Fornos, said Aragorn. Over the land there lies a long shadow, westward reaching wings of darkness. The tower trembles to the tombs of the kings. Doom approaches. The dead awaken, for the hour is come for the oath breakers. At the stone of Erech they shall stand again, and hear there a horn in the hills ringing. Whose shall be the horn? Who shall call them from the grey twilight, the forgotten people? The heir of him to whom the oath they swore. From the north shall he come, need shall drive him. He shall pass the door to the paths of the dead. uh... I knew Des was saying something, and I just had to keep going. But yeah, it's almost like if someone drastically changed their plans based on something they saw in the Palantir, it was Aragorn, maybe. But yes, again, so this is the thing. This is the thing. Aragorn is like, this is unlooked for. But again, it's not. Like, the only things that are coming from the south are the Corsairs that they've already had word from. They already know about it. So Aragorn thinks that they don't know. But, so it's something else. Because they do know. They know about the Corsairs coming. Which is why they lit the beacons in the first place. Well, okay, admittedly, he... Looked for by you, maybe. um, Admittedly, at this point, I don't actually think the beacons have been lit yet because this is back in time. We're back in time. We're all the way to the beginning. Merry and Pippin and Gandalf just went I think last night. Yes, they just went last night, so they're only just arriving at Gondor, or they're just passing into the borders. So like Aragorn and Denethor kind of find this out almost at the same time, amazingly enough. So, which makes me think that Denethor actually used the Palantir to find out this information as well. But, oh no, actually, does Baragon say that it was runners who took it? But anyway, yes. So, again, this is information that they all already had, and it's not, and it's like they knew this. They all knew this, and they knew that it was this huge like lot of Corsairs. There's nothing different in what Aragorn knows from what Denethor knows at this point in time. So it makes no sense that this thing that they both already know is the thing that makes Denethor fucking uh 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 self-immolate. What else people think? Does that would make too much sense though, and Aragorn is allergic to being wrong. True. Um that's true, Honeybee, you're right. It would have been nice. But again, admittedly actually I wonder who I suppose like so all most of the time we are reading the perspective of hobbits. At almost all times, that's what we're doing. However, it's also noted that when Frodo, and I think when as well when Sam um is writing the Red Book, they do ask people. They ask various other people in the Fellowship their perspective of what happened. Um, so I'm wondering whose perspective this is from. Maybe it's from Legolas. Like if they might have asked Legolas's opinion. Um, because it seems like he's the one talking the least, and but he's I mean, what how is what is the wording at the moment? He looked grey and he looked stern. Maybe it's Gimli. Maybe it's Gimli's perspective because he remembered Aragorn being angry at him. um. Uh. Yeah. I'm wondering who, because yes, because Honeybee's right. It would have been good. Does that mean that we just never get Aragorn's perspective? Like Aragorn was just too busy to sit down with Sam or Frodo at one time and just say, "Yeah, I remember this. This is what happened." Like we can't. I mean, I guess it might have been a bit. All right, it might have been a bit rude to be like, "Hey, Aragorn, this incredibly taxing thing that you did that like really drained you and was really disturbing. Could you describe it? What happened?" That's admittedly that would have been a bit rude. So I can understand narrative, like uh book canon book conceit narratively speaking. It makes sense that nobody asked Aragorn directly, like, what was this like? Um, but it would also, but you're right. Also, that doesn't really absolve Tolkien of this, and it would have been good to actually see Aragorn do this rather than him just come out looking grey and worn afterwards. Denethor and Sauron meeting for their nightly game of chess like Magneto and Professor X, and then Aragorn crashes through the ceiling looking wildly about and then runs out the door. Yeah, that I do feel like that's basic. Like that is also another amusing thing. Like surely Denethor, like there's a very Des will know more about this, but oh yes, this is the bit though as well. This is the fucking bit though as well. Cause like, okay, alright, Aragorn. If you're going to use the Palantir and it's gonna be so hard, and you feel like you have knowledge that's so important that you have to like rush over there, you know you can tell Denethor, right? Like you could try. I mean, does he just not? Does he assume that Denethor isn't using the Palantir, and so he just doesn't call? If you have one phone call, then use it to call your friend. You're like, why didn't he? It's so crazy. Maybe don't call the devil. Why did you have to call the devil? I mean, I suppose the point is that he just uses the Palantir and then yes, that's true. Yes, exactly. It's Jamie is right. Denethor doesn't. Aragorn doesn't even think. Denethor doesn't even come into Aragorn's mind that he might have been using the Palantir. there's no, he just doesn't think about it. He just doesn't think about it. Can you imagine how helpful it would have been if Aragorn had actually called Denethor, called him up and said, hey, let's chat. And then Denethor, it's, uh, yes, essentially. Well, it nearly killed him, is what it feels like, because he's so aged. He's literally aged beyond his years now. Yeah, like this is like, because Des, I don't know. You all know this better. Um, does Denethor know that Aragorn used the Palantir here? Did he notice this? Was this something he was aware of? I feel like we've said he was. Um, I mean, I would have liked it because I'm not. Admittedly, I'm not sure that there's much. I mean, getting the lads, yeah, getting the band back together, but yeah, I mean, eh, eh, see, but this is the issue. This is the problem, you see, with coming to a country that you expect to rule one day and being like, it's not Dessa, Des. It is not too controversial. This is my stream chat. This is my stream chat. This is my stream chat, and it's never too controversial. You have to you have to tell me. I want to know. But um yeah, this is the problem when you come to a country in your youth. Oh, okay, that is true. You'll have to tell me on Discord later. It's the problem when you come to a country that you expect to rule one day. You become Thorongil, whatever. You're there for about 10 years, and then you just fucking vanish, and you don't you don't leave just for Denethor at least. Just like leave him, like, I don't know, an address, like you could write to me, or a bird that you could send to me at need, like some manner of like communication beyond this point, so that you can coordinate this shit if you know that this is going to happen eventually. He just left Denethor in the lurch. He just left him in the lurch and assumed that he would figure it out. That's true. You can't listen in unless you have the big Palantir. You need the big boy for audio, yes. Or, well, no, but do you? If you have, well, through the Palantir you need it for audio, but for yeah, yes, yes, he did. Yes, Aragorn was like, "Peace, I'm off," and everyone's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm going," and then yes, unless I'm gonna have to wait for the unless long typing, unless unless there's a loophole, unless Denethor has super secret special hearing powers that he does actually canonically have, which are crazy. But we'll get to that. We'll get to it later. We've stopped it up. I'm going off the rails. I'm going too spare. We need to get back on track. Ugh. Dark ways, doubtless, said Gimli, but no darker than these staves are to me. If you would understand them better, then I bid you come with me, said Aragorn. For that way I now shall take, but I do not go gladly. Only need drives me. Therefore, only of your free will would I have you come, for you will find both toil and great fear, and maybe worse. I will go with you, even on the paths of the dead, and to whatever end that may lead, said Gimli. I will also come, said Legolas, for I do not fear the dead. I hope that the forgotten people will not have forgotten how to fight, said Gimli, for otherwise I see not why we should trouble them. He's so polite. That we shall know if ever we come to Erech, said Aragorn, but the oath that they broke was to fight against Sauron, and they must fight therefore, if they are to fulfill it. For at Erech there stands yet a black stone that was brought, it was said, from Numenor by Isildur,
and it was set upon a hill, and upon it the king of the mountains swore allegiance to him in the beginning of the realm of Gondor. But when Sauron returned and grew in might again, Isildur summoned the men of the mountains to fulfill their oath, and they would not, for they had worshipped Sauron in the dark years. Then Isildur said to their king, Thou shalt be the last king, and if the West prove mightier than thy black master, this curse I lay upon thee and thy folk, to rest never until your oath is fulfilled. For this war will last through years uncounted, and you shall be summoned once again ere the end. And they fled before the wrath of Isildur, and did not dare go forth to war on Sauron's part. And they hid themselves in secret places in the mountains, and had no dealings with other men, but slowly dwindled in the barren hills. And the terror of the sleepless dead lies about the hill of Erech and all places where that people lingered. But that way I must go, and since there are none living to help me... since there are none living to help me. He stood up. Come, he cried, and drew his sword, and it flashed in the twilit hall of the burg. To the stone of Erech! I seek the paths of the dead. Come with me who will. Legolas and Gimli made no answer, but they rose and followed Aragorn from the hall. On the green there waited, still and silent, the hooded rangers. Legolas and Gimli mounted. Aragorn sprang upon Rohirrim. Then Halbarad lifted a great horn, and the blast of it echoed in Helm's Deep, and with that they leapt away, riding down the coombe like thunder, while all the men that were left on the dike or burg stared in amaze. Right. Oh, here it is. Here we go. I've got to have a moment of calm before we get to this part. This part is... woof. Oof. Minecraft oof sound effect. And while Theoden went by slow paths in the hills, the Grey Company passed swiftly over the plain, and on the next day in the afternoon they came to Edoras. And there they halted only briefly, ere they passed up the valley, and so came to Dunharrow as darkness fell. The Lady Eowyn greeted them, and was glad of their coming, for no mightier men had she seen than the Dunedain and the fair sons of Elrond. But on Aragorn most of all her eyes rested, and when they sat at supper with her, they talked together, and she heard of all that had passed since Theoden rode away, concerning which only the hasty tidings had yet reached her. And when she heard of the battle in Helm's Deep, and the great slaughter of their foes, and of the charge of Theoden and his knights, then her eyes shone. But at last she said, Lords, you are weary, and shall now go to your beds, with such ease as can be contrived in haste, but tomorrow fairer housing shall be found for you. But Aragorn said, Nay, lady, be not troubled for us. If we may lie here tonight, and break our fast tomorrow, it will be enough. For I ride on an errand most urgent, and with the first light of the morning we must go. She smiled on him and said, Then it was kindly done, lord, to ride so many miles out of your way to bring tidings to Eowyn, and to speak with her in her exile. Indeed, no man would count such a journey wasted, said Aragorn, and yet, lady, I could not have come hither if it were not for that the road which I must take leads me to Dunharrow. And she answered as one that likes not what is said, Then, lord, you are astray, for out of Harrowdale no road runs, east or south, and you had best return as you came. Nay, lady, he said, I am not astray, for I walked in this land ere you were born to grace it. There is a road out of this valley, and ere that road I shall take. Tomorrow I shall ride by the paths of the dead. Then she stared at him, as one that was stricken, and her face blanched, and for long she spoke no more, while all sat silent. But Aragorn, she said at last, is it then your errand to seek death? For that is all you will find in that road. They do not suffer the living to pass. They may suffer me to pass, said Aragorn, but at the least I will adventure it. No other road will serve. But this is madness, she said, for here are men of renown and prowess, whom you should not take into the shadows, but should lead to war, where men are needed. I beg you to remain and ride with my brother, for then all our hearts will be gladdened and our hope will be brighter. It is not madness, lady, he answered, for I go on a path appointed, but those who follow me do so of their free will, and if they wish now to remain and ride with the Rohirrim, they may do so. But I shall take the paths of the dead, alone if need be." Then they said no more, and they ate in silence, but our eyes were ever upon Aragorn, and the others saw that she was in great torment of mind. At length they arose, and took their leave of the lady, and thanked her for her care, and went to their rest. But as Aragorn came to the booth where he was to lodge with Legolas and Gimli, and his companions had gone in, there came the Lady Eowyn after him and called him. He turned and saw her as a glimmer in the night, for she was clad in white, but her eyes were on fire. "Aragorn," she said, "why will you go on this deadly road?" "Because I must," he said, "only so I see any hope of doing my part in the war against Sauron. Don't know why I did that weird accent on that. War against Sauron. I do not choose paths of peril, Eowyn. Were I to go where my heart dwells, far in the north, I would now be wandering in the fair valley of Rivendell." For a while she was silent, as if pondering what this might mean. Then suddenly she laid her hand on his arm. "You are a stern lord and resolute," she said, "and thus do men win renown." She paused. "Lord," she said, "if you must go, then let me ride in your following, for I am weary of skulking in the hills, and wish to face peril and battle." "Your duty is with your people," he answered. "Too often have I heard of duty," she cried, "but am I not of the house of Eol, a shield maiden and not a dry nurse? I have waited on faltering feet long enough. Since they falter no longer, it seems, may I now not spend my life as I will?" "Few may do that with honour," he answered. "But as for you, lady, did you not accept the charge to govern the people until their lord's return? If you had not been chosen, then some marshal or captain would have been set in the same place, and he could not ride away from his charge, were he weary of it or no." "Shall I always be chosen?" she said bitterly. "Shall I always be left behind, when the riders depart, to mind the house while they win renown, and find food and beds when they return?" "A time may soon come," said he, "when none will return. Then there will be need of valour without renown, for none shall remember the deeds that are done in the last defence of your homes. Yet the deeds will not be less valiant because they are unpraised." And she answered, "All your words are but to say, you are a woman, and your part is in the house. But when the men have died in battle and honour, you have leave to be burned in the house, for the men will need it no more. But I am of the house of Eol, and not a serving woman. I can ride and wield a blade, and I do not fear either pain or death." "And what do you fear, lady?" he asked. "A cage," she said, "to stay behind bars until use and old age accept them, and all chance of doing great deeds is gone beyond recall or desire." "And yet you counselled me not to adventure on the road that I had chosen, because it is perilous." "So may one counsel another," she said. "Yet I do not bid you to flee from peril, but to ride to battle where your sword may win renown and victory. I would not see a thing that is high and excellent cast away needlessly." "Nor would I," he said. "Therefore I say to you, lady, stay, for you have no errand to the south. Neither have those others who go with thee. They go only because they would not be parted from thee, because they love thee." Then she turned and vanished into the night. Christ. And she's right. She's right. If Aragorn is literally telling her, no, you have to stay here because we might all die. What he says is, yeah, we might all die. Everyone will die, and it may be that this is the end of days, but you still have to stay here because you have to be here and do things that are womanly. You have to stay here with the house. That's what he's literally saying. It's not about, like, he makes it out like, oh, she has responsibility to her people or whatever. No, he's saying that they're all going to die anyway. That's what he's saying. If they all die anyway, then Eowyn gets to do something. At that point, she gets to do something. She has leave to be burned with the house.
It is fucking brutal, and the way she says it is so cutting, and he's so blind. He just doesn't give. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. I mean, he cares a little bit, but in an incredibly sexist way. And mm, and of course I have to, because this is my stream. This was a post. Uh, exactly, exactly. It makes me violent because like if Aragorn was saying, I would be marginally less irritated if Aragorn was saying, um, uh, 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 you know, you need to protect these people so that like if if because we're not gonna be here. So if you get attacked now, you have to protect these people. But number one, protect them from who? There's nobody coming down here. They've killed. Saruman is fucked off. There are no more Uruk-hai, really. There's nothing to protect down here. And number two, that's not what he's saying. He's literally saying, no, you are supposed to die here. You're not supposed to die elsewhere. He's not even saying that renown and glory are bad or for things to want. He's saying that it's bad for you to want. You're not allowed to want it. And then he acts like it's the same as any other dude if they were put there. Anyway, I knew this was going to be. I'm sorry, Kaz. I knew this was going to be an Aragorn bashing episode. I knew this would. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. This is the issue I have, because Tolkien is on Aragorn's side as far as I'm aware. In this, yeah, and this is the thing. Tolkien is on Aragorn's side as far, well, because later he has all this discussion about how women don't want to like do all of these things, and women are like he does talk about what women are supposed to do in other areas of the of stuff. But yes, you're right. He then gives her renown. But no, not chapters of this book. Later, letters and stuff. He's describing them. He talks about like uh women who are pastors and women who are etc etc. They're in what's the word can't remember the word, but he's disagreeing with them essentially. So there's an element of Tolkien's opinion which is definitely sexist, and he wrote these letters after he wrote the Lord of the Rings, so it's not like he like unless he had a change of heart towards becoming more sexist, he's sort of, this is a continuing thread, but yeah, it's still it's true that that Eowyn gets a very heroic tale after this. Like her disobedience is not necessarily is rewarded with what she wants. But the main kind of important point about it though is definitely that in the end Eowyn's happiness is tied in with not only marriage but also this I know people discuss this a lot about how it's not bad for Eowyn to get to the end and to be she's traumatized by war, etc etc, and get to the end, and then she can finally grow gardens and heal and everything, and no, that concept that has been kind of picked out of it is not bad, but when compared to the whole stream of it, when compared to the whole arc of her character, what he is it's still an impression of her happiness has to come from these specific things, and in these situations as well, if you're struggling, and like Eowyn has done, exactly, she learns to stay home. Yes, Tessa, you said it so much better. She does learn to stay home. She learns, like like it's not he is it's complicated, but it's not a I've never appreciated it. I like if you want to take it as a as this concept of like, yes, she's healing from all this trauma that she's suffered for so long. Okay. it doesn't ring true for me. It doesn't ring true for me, because Eowyn is under, it suffers so much. She has been suffering this way for so long. She has been in this kind of limbo of constant danger and having to worry about her brother and her adopted father, and Grima just haunting her steps all over the place. She's been in a position where she cannot fight back at all ever, and now, and she wants to, now she wants to, she feels like she can, and she just can't do this thing anymore. It's actually very healthy of Eowyn to finally say, no, I'm not gonna be your doormat anymore. You can't just tell me to do these things. I don't want to do this anymore. If we're all going to die, I want to be fighting. I want to do something, which is something I find very, I understand that impulse very well. um but so it's good that she fights, and then at the end what it feels like is that's that's it. And it's she's finally figured it out. Like, she got this grievous wound, and finally she figured out that now she's done with renown, and done with, like, fighting for something, which I do not in any way identify with, in terms of like figuring out how to get through things that are traumatic. Um, but yeah, um, it exactly the Spectraling. I agree with you as well. There's I mean, I do also feel that the way the arc is. No, but this is the issue, because there is no point to Lord of the Rings. Like, this is the thing that is important. There is no point to Lord of the Rings. Like I know people have, like, shared around these quotes and these ideas a lot. Um, there the point of Lord of the Rings is it's a good book, and if there and Tolkien's whole thing is that if you find things in it that seem to either be like a motif or a theme, they're in it accidentally. He says it's accidental, or it's not necessarily. It's like just what he thinks would be thematically good to make a good story. There is no point to Lord of the Rings. Tolkien was not writing it for a point. And also, like as much as like, we discuss how anti-war it is, it's still not necessarily. Sorry, Rabbi. It's still not necessarily anti-war, because like the Hornburg is very. It's all the battles in this are so romanticized, incredibly, almost poetic in the way that they occur. And I mean, not fully romanticized. They're still very enjoyable to read, and they're very exciting, and all of this, and all our characters win renown, and they help each other, and it's this whole bit like. It's the whole point about Lord of the Rings is that it is a good book. And if and Tolkien has, like, radio interviews at various points, he will say, if there is a theme or a symbolic thing that you see in it, either it's accidentally there. I did not mean to put it there. It just happened because that's what I have in my mind. That's like I'm working off of things that I am that I have experienced in my life, or that I know. Um, or it's something that you have found in it, which he is something he wants you to do. He wants you to take things out of the book that you like. So if so again, it's not wrong to say that the Lord of the Rings is about the point of the Lord of the Rings is war is awful to you, but I would say that there is never a point where you can say the Lord of the Rings is the whole point of the Lord of the Rings is X. Um, which makes discussion of it very, very, very fun. Very, uh, it's not didactic fiction, yeah. Yes. So, because again, also, the other thing is, uh, uh, thank you, Jamie. Kaz's Kaz's message was flagged for being too aggressive because he said, "I will kill you" in it. But yes, Kaz is very right. If you read too well, I mean, he doesn't want you to read too deeply. He wants you to read as deeply as you like. Is the point? He wants you to read as he wants you to get stuff. He wants you to get anything you want out of the book. He wants you to. He wrote it. It's an escapism, and that's what he wrote it for. Um. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like the whole it's inventing intricate rituals so that Aragorn can kiss somebody's forehead, I guess. But inventing intricate rituals so that a father can lie under a sheet with his son and hold him at the end of both their lives potentially, and try and express all the love and affection that he feels like he has not had the time or ability to show him up until that point because of the literal end of the world that they're both going through together, and the issues in their relationship that make that difficult. I'm fine. It's fine. Um, yes. Anyway, let's get back to reading. um, I was thinking of one more thing before I go. Yeah, because we. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not really. Uh, going into Oregon. I mean, but okay. Well, firstly, Tolkien definitely never had the idea of toxic masculinity. Like the idea of toxic masculinity. Um, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure other people were talking about it. I'm not sure it was it was a term at the time. But also, I also don't think that because glory and renown is not ever like glory and renown is not ever like completely. Oh, I see. Yes. Well, yes. I mean, yeah. I very much understand that reading. I very much understand that reading. And certainly it works. But the issue for me is that the rest of the book never has anything to say about glory or renown for anybody else. Like it's not like glory and renown are um pagan masculinity, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's true, but again, uh, Aragorn is allowed to want to have glory and renown. Aragorn's allowed. Gimli's allowed. Legolas is allowed. Éomer is allowed. All of these people are allowed to have glory and renown, and Theoden literally dies with glory and renown. That he sends him off with a wish for glory and renown, and it's important like Theoden's death is not um uh and he's allowed to spend his life as he wills. So if the book was against glory and renown, or at least the like if the book was making a point about how it is foolish to be so tied to the idea of winning glory and renown for yourself to the extent that you would sacrifice your life for it, then I mean Theoden's whole death would be much more, I feel, not lauded, and there would be a lot more backlash towards it at the end. Like you would get Éomer being angry at him, and a discussion about how he shouldn't go because he's so old, and why are you going to war, Theoden? You're a king. Why are you going to war? Your heir is now is barely 27, and actually has not been raised to this seat. He's not been raised to be king. Why are you going to war, Theoden? which is a very fair criticism to make that I regularly do make to Theoden. Like this is stuff, but no, Theoden is not only allowed but expected to go to war, and when he dies, it is tragic and sad, but it's not like he's not ridiculed for it, and there's no backlash from his family or anyone else who's like, I just wish he would have listened to me, etc., etc. I wish he would have stayed behind so that I could have had somebody to help me be king afterwards. Um, and so Boromir as well. Boromir, he wins renown in his death. Boromir wins renown in his death. So Aragorn at the end of Boromir's death, he says, "No, you have triumphed." So it's good, and constantly that's pushed as well. It's good that Boromir died. He should have died there. Gandalf says it, and Aragorn says it, and Faramir says it. Like everyone says, no, Boromir is allowed to die for. Even though in that situation he didn't really have a choice. Like Boromir did not have a choice to sacrifice his life. He was kind of pushed into doing that. Like there was no way to run away from a oh, Kaz. Oh, you test me. You little ooh. Ban him for that. Ban him for that one. Yeah, thank you, Bdes. So when Boromir like almost accidentally walks into an ambush and dies as a result of it, he is not he is it's seen as a good thing because he won renown and he won back his honor or whatever. So so but anyway, sorry to keep going on with you. I got very involved in thinking about this whole concept. But spectraling, I'm but I still understand and agree that that is a good that's like a good narrative that I enjoy as an idea for Eowyn. I agree with it entirely. I just got very into the discussion of uh thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jamie, so much. Thank you. You don't know, but Jamie just timed out Kaz for 10 seconds. Drama in the chat. Um, no, my point is that I'm sorry for going on at you. That was not the intention. I just got very into the discussion of the theme of renown and throughout the whole book, which I have lots of thoughts about. I also love Eowyn. Don't worry. Anyway, we've got more of her. She's about to do even more badass shit, so I can't. We shouldn't have stopped there. Hmm. This ain't no democracy. Thank you. I believe you. I believe you, Kaz. I believe you. Anyway, when the light of day was come into the east, blah, 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 let's start that again. When the light of day was come into the sky, but the sun was not yet risen above the high ridges of the east, Aragorn made ready to depart. His company was all mounted, and he was about to leap into the saddle, when the Lady Eowyn came to bid him farewell. She was clad as a rider, and girt with a sword. In her hand she bore a cup, and she set it to her lips, and drank a little, wishing him good speed. And then she gave the cup to Aragorn, and he drank, and he said, "Farewell, Lady Rohan. I drink to the fortunes of your house, and you, and all your people. Say to your brother, beyond the shadows we may meet again." Then it seemed to Gimli and Legolas, who were near by, that she wept, and in one so stern and proud that seemed the more grievous. But she said, "Aragorn, wilt thou go?" "I will," he said. "Then wilt thou not let me ride with this company, as I have asked?" "I will not, lady," he said, "for that I could not grant without leave of the king and of your brother, and they will not return until tomorrow. But I count now every hour, indeed every minute. Farewell." Then she fell on her knees, saying, "I beg thee." "Nay, lady," he said, and taking her by the hand he raised her, and then he kissed her hand and sprang into the saddle and rode away, and did not look back, and only those who knew him well were near to him saw the pain that he bore. But Eowyn stood still as a figure carven in stone.
Her hands clenched at her sides, and she watched them until they passed into the shadows under the black Dwimmerberg, the haunted mountain, in which was the gate of the dead. When they were lost to view, she turned, stumbling as one that is blind, and went back to her lodging. But none of her folk saw this parting, for they hid themselves in fear, and would not come forth until the day was up, and the reckless strangers were gone. And some said, "They are elvish wights. Let them go where they belong, into the dark places, and never return. The times are evil enough." I also am one of those.
It she's begging. She begs him, and and then he has the gall to be like, "Oh, but it pained him so." Oh, I'm so sorry, Aragorn. I'm so sorry it hurts you so much. I'm so sorry it hurts you. Oh, let's make it all about Aragorn. Put him back in the box. Put him back. Oh, you mean Cass. You mean Cass. Yes, put him back in the box too. Especially in the middle of Eowyn's grief. Have some goddamn respect, Cass. We're not talking about Boromir right now. This is Eowyn. This is Eowyn's moment of grief and desperation. She's so desperate. She just wants to do something. She just wants to finally have some control over her life. Even if it's to decide how it ends. That's it. That's all she wants. She just wants an atom of control. Anything that she can control in this moment, because she's been without control for so long. And this is what she asks, and he just won't. Not even a moment. Oh, I also remember what I was going to say before. What I was going to say before, because this is my stream. This is a very Denethor moment. In that it has blatant and incredibly striking parallels that you would know if Thank you, Jamie. That you would know if you'd watched a certain Tolkien presentation that I love very much. I would Denethor, exactly. It's Denethor energy. Well, no, it's Denethor quotes as well. Like fucking, I can still wield a brand and carven out of stone. I remember this image very vividly. And the fucking I you have leave to be burnt in the house. But and Denethor literally burns himself with the house, but does not have leave to do it yet. Like and Denethor is also doing this thing where he's like, I want just an atom of control over my life, and I want it to decide how I die. And this is the control I choose. I want to decide how I die, is what Denethor says. But the parallels, I tell you. Ooh, Eowyn and Denethor are each other's most pertinent narrative parallel in Lord of the Rings, and it makes me all kinds of things. I also cannot wait for Kaz to come to this point when we read this together and try and be like, no, Aragorn was just sad. He didn't want Eowyn to die or whatever. She just wants some control. I know you will. I know you will. But Kaz, listen to me. Aragorn won't fuck you. Aragorn's not going to fuck you, okay? Oh. Well, I don't want him to, so that's the difference. I didn't want him to. I'm not no. I'm sorry for saying it. I'm sorry for saying it. I'm sorry for saying it. It came out of me. I'm at a I'm at a very I'm at a very very potent moment. Um. Anyway. You know what? Let's have a break. Let's have a break. I'm gonna have a let's have a break. Let's have a break. At that note, on that note of cohesion and friendliness and warmth amongst all my chat, which I have. uh uh is a good time to have a break. Yes, yes, Alexander. Yes to all of that, including the sarcasm. So we're gonna turn on the break chat, and we'll have a break for about 5 minutes, and then we'll be back. I'm sorry, Kaz. I didn't. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, you got me. You got me. You did get me. Yeah, you did get me. Oh. Oh, a lot wonderful. Oh, that I guess. Oh, honeybee. Clip rat glosses. Rat glosses. What rat gloss just said, because I'll need to use that as the stream highlight. I think that needs to be a stream highlight. Um. Uh, okay. All right. I'll be back in not too long. It won't be that long. Barely a few minutes. Ugh. Yeah, big flags. Oh, we got to the Hill of Eric just as I stopped. Ah, the Stone of Eric. The Lord of the Rings Online has. Oh no, I don't want to say that because that's spoilers for the fucking Lord of the Rings Online story in 120 levels or so for some of you. Um, it's not that much of a spoiler. Lord of the Rings Online always attempts to, it's admirable, efforts that Lord of the Rings Online does to try and uh uh like fill in all the gaps that Tolkien has left, at least up until the point where a second narrative works around it, which I love all the time. There's like two that I can think of that I dislike intensely. The rest of it almost all good. I am conflicted about this one though, even though it kind of makes sense, but like the Stone of Eric is so weird. The Stone of Eric is the weirdest fucking thing. It's the weirdest doodad that Tolkien ever like adds into the thing. It's a giant black rock, black stone, perfectly spherical, dug into a hill. It they literally brought it with them when Numenor was destroyed. And what I mean by that is when they were rushing to the ships and like loading up the ships, one guy was like yeah, he just like, let's take the big rock. And like there's no explanation of why he took this big rock. Like there's no special thing about it. It's just a big rock as far as they know in the book. Like who decided this? Who decided to put, and then not only that, even like you can understand if like somebody was like, I'll put it in the I'll put it in the boat. No, then when the when the when the when the ships yeah, but even so, even if they prepared it long in advance, why would they put the rock on there? Like why is the rock important? It's so big. But okay, this is the point. We never get told it has any magical properties um in the books. And it's so important that not only do they put it on the ship in order to get it to Middle Earth in the first place, they also dredged it up after it inevitably got like like the ship ran aground at some point. They had to drag it. They had to drag it from the beach all the way up that hill. Why did they do this? It's never explained. Like Eric is not a short distance from the beach. Like it's like the width, the height of Gondor. Is basically they dragging this huge fucking stone. But Lord of the Rings Online says, ah ha ha, we're gonna make something out of this. Lord of the Rings Online says it does look kick-ass. Like I get that. Like it looks kick-ass. It basically looks like we just read it. We just read it just now. It was Aragorn was talking about the Stone of Eric. We're gonna get there again in a minute. But he was talking about it in terms of like it was on the hill and it was about the yeah. Lord of the Rings Online said, okay, we're gonna make this like a huge thing in our like level 120 story. What we're gonna say is, actually, the stones are called oath stones. There's more than one of them. The Stone of Eric is only one. There's more than one of them. And what they basically are ways to subjugate the local population. like they apparently they like Lord of the Rings Online says we're just gonna the Numenorians just put these big rocks where there were like indigenous populations in order to subjugate them to because it had like a magical like thing that made them like do what they were told. Like I mean, that's why the oath stone. I mean, I don't think it was like a thing where it was like you had to make an oath or something on the stone as we have shown. Yeah, like the reason the mountain men this happens to the mountain men that they are cursed is because they make this oath on this fucking like cursed stone, this cursed oath stone that is supposed to subject all of the local population, and they just play that like totally straight. They just say it, like they just say it, and then nobody addresses it. Nobody is like, this is crazy that you did this, and there's no like moment where people are like, this seems a little like no. Most of the time, Lord of the Rings Online is really good with like, well, really good. I mean, like, and compared to everybody else. No, but I mean, this is the point. This is the point. Sauron then takes most of the Oath Stones. Like he goes and he grabs grabs most of them and then twists them to his will, and then he uses them. He uses them to subjugate the people that the re-subjugate the people that Gondor had subjugated originally, and then turns them on each other, and that is part of the whole plot for the 120 like Minas Ithil plus the Last Alliance era of your 120 level life in Lord of the Rings Online. And this is also this is actually also the story where they like heavily like they like lay it on really heavily that Gandalf and Glorfindel are in love, which is also a lot happens. A lot happens in the level 120 of Lord of the Rings Online that I had to experience on my own in my room without anybody to talk to, and it kind of made me a little crazy. Um, um, so yes. And then you just go and fuck around with the dwarves or whatever. Like then you're just like you leave Isildur's ghost in by the yes, Isildur's ghost. You leave him in the fens of Anduin, the Vales of Anduin. You just leave him there. And he's still a ghost. He's floating around. He's still a ghost. You leave him there. You just fuck off up north and just like have a great time with your dwarf friends, and then it goes wonderfully, and everything's great because fucking dwarves are amazing, and I love them all the time, and I do want yes, I want to know what Bori's doing. You go and you deeply befriend every single. Lord of the Rings Online is good. I know I just said the craziest shit, but Lord of the Rings Online is really good. But yeah, no, honestly, Honeybee, listen. I also had to deal with what I had to deal with in my own room alone was shipping Glorfindel and Aragorn, Glorfindel and Gandalf. I shipped them. I was sitting there going, fuck, I like it. I'm actually weirdly into it. Yes, you meet Bosie again, and you meet Bori, and you meet all of them, and I love them so much. I miss them. People keep on fucking saying to me, "Oh, Moria is the worst area of Lord of the Rings Online," and you're allowed to have your wrong opinion. But I cried. I cried at various points during the whole Moria storyline. Anyway, it's time. I need to actually no. I need to eat this piece of celery before I get back. Huh? Kaz, my boy, the North Downs, my love. I mean, I'm wild if you agree with that. I'm wild. Right. Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that, Alexander. I'll take that. But yeah, no, that was hilarious. Like Kaz was like, "Oh, I hate the most Dunedain area. That's the worst bit of Lord of the Rings Online." Yeah, I didn't like Wilmore either. Well, Voldemort makes you go to a funeral. Voldemort is like, you're gonna like all these characters. I'm gonna kill them all off, and you have to go to their funerals. I suppose. Well, I guess, but it's not as it doesn't feel as like Dunedain-y, or at least it doesn't feel as rangery, I suppose. Halbrand isn't there. You have to deal with Calanglad and his weird fucking obsession with this lake. The fact that he's in love with a lake, which it's a lot to deal with. I'm just giving out fucking secrets of Lord of the Rings Online. Um, true. I agree with that. I should stop giving out spoilers for Lord of the Rings Online so that you all play it. Or maybe this will help. Okay. I'm just finishing this celery stick and then I'll start again. Um, Radglass? It does. For real. I should say, the lake has an it's a there's a there's a like a Maya type spirit that inhabits the lake, or at least, well, she doesn't really inhabit the lake. She's the spirit of fucking the like the a Maya type spirit of both the lake but also of the city. Jesus Christ, Cass. She's like an aspect of both the city and the lake, and Calenglad is in love with her. But she is the lake. Yeah, oh, is it just the lake? Well, she lives in the ruined city of Animinas. Right, that was it. Thank you. It's a great paper. And there's a wonderful bit where where um where I can't keep giving out spoilers, but there's a brilliant bit where you're having this really bad dream, and this friend of yours is like, you just had the worst time, you're miserable, and then your friend is like, I can make you more depressed if you'd like, and you're like, no. He's dead, by the way. He appears into your dream and is like, can I make you more depressed? And you're like, I don't want you to. Candace, can you not? I'll get you more pants. I'll find your fucking bow for you again. Don't make me more sad. And he's like, I'm going to anyway. And then he takes you to all your other ranger friends who are all in similar terrible pickles. And then there's Calenglad. Like it's hilarious because Anuminas and Anuminas. Anuminas. There's many ways to say Anuminas, but I say it like uh like yes, exactly. Like it's so funny because the way that the dream goes, it's like Lothrind is still a prisoner of war being tortured by Saruman. I'm dead. And then Golodir is about to be uh, 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 like about to go feral because his daughter is dead and he feels responsible, and now he's also been like affected by evil shit. Like he's like on the end of his rope. And then you get to Calenglad, and Calenglad's just like, I'm sad. I miss my lake wife. I miss my lake wife, and I'm sad about it. I should have stayed. And you're like, is this? I don't know if this is the same. And Calenglad is like he rushes into the. He says, you're at the shores of Lake Caling of the lake, and he's like, I should have stayed. I'm so sorry. Oh, aluminium? Can I say anuminas? Like aluminium. Anuminas. Anuminas. Um, yeah. Like, he just. Like, I just don't think that's sad, Calenglad. I'm not sad about this. Like, I'm sorry that you miss your lake. Um, aluminium? Aluminium. Thank you, Ratglass. Aha. That's that's what you call having a received pronunciation accent. Mm. Okay, I've eaten my celery. Let's get back to the book, and I will take off breaking for 11s. Um, yes, I got that. Raglos. I. Okay. Um, so we returned. Peace and love and light have also returned with us. I feel very zen at the moment. I feel very calm. I have lots of love in my heart for everyone in the chat, including Kaz. So let's get going again. The light was still grey as they rode, for the sun had not yet climbed over the black ridges of the haunted mountain before them. A dread fell on them even as they passed between the lines of ancient stones, and so came to the dim halt. There, under the gloom of black trees that not even Legolas could long endure, they found a hollow place opening at the mountain's root, and right in their path stood a single mighty stone like a finger of doom. My blood runs chill, said Gimli.
But the others were silent, and his voice fell dead on the dank fir needles at his feet. The horses would not pass the threatening stone until the riders dismounted and led them about, and so they came at last deep into the glen, and there stood a sheer wall of rock, and in the wall the dark door gaped before them like the mouth of night. Ah, more mouths for you, Raklos. There's more mouths. More mouths for Raklos. Don't worry about the context of that. I'm sure Raklos will explain it soon. It's about eating. The concept of it's. Listen, if Lord of the Rings is about anything, it's about eating and being eaten, and the fear of being eaten, as far as I can tell. Yes, he did. Yes, he did capitalize Haunted Mountain. You're right. Hell yes, right one. Uh, Signs and figures were carved above its wide arch, too dim to read, and fear flowed from it like a grey vapour. The company halted, and there was not a heart among them that did not quail, unless it were the heart of Legolas of the elves, for whom the ghosts of men have no terror. No, I did not want to. I did not want to say that, but I suppose you are allowed to say it, so yes. Um, This is an evil door, said Halbrand, and my death lies beyond it. I will dare to pass it nonetheless, but no horse will enter. Halbrand's so miserable. Maybe if he lightened up a bit, he wouldn't have died. um, but we must go on, and therefore the horses must go too, said Aragorn. For if ever we come through this darkness, many leagues lie beyond, and every hour that is lost there will bring the triumph of Sauron nearer. Follow me. Then Aragorn led the way, and such was the strength of his will that in that hour that all the Dunedain and their horses followed him. And indeed, the love that the horses of the Rangers bore for their riders was so great that they were willing to face even the terror of the door, if their masters' hearts were steady as they walked beside them. But Arod, the horse of Rohan, refused the way, and he stood sweating and trembling in a fear that was so grievous to see. Then Legolas laid his hands on his eyes, and sang some words that went soft in the gloom, until he suffered himself to be led, and Legolas passed in. And there stood Gimli the dwarf, left all alone. His knees shook, and he was wroth with himself. "Here's a thing unheard of," he said. "An elf will go underground, and a dwarf dare not." With that he plunged in, but it seemed to him that he dragged his feet like lead over the threshold, and at once a blindness came upon him, even upon Gimli Glowin's son, who had walked unafraid in many deep places of the world. Evil Door. Aragorn had brought torches from Dunharrow, and now he went ahead bearing one aloft, and Elladan with another went at the rear, and Gimli, stumbling behind, strove to overtake him. He could see nothing but the dim flame of the torches, but if the company halted, there seemed an endless whisper of voices all about him, a murmur of words in no tongue that he had never heard before. Now, I think this is told in Gimli's perspective, because we're getting all of these kind of information about how he's feeling. I think we were right. I think this whole thing is being told through Gimli's perspective, um, which means that he was being very nice to Legolas a moment ago, which is very funny. I believe this now. Listen, I stand by it. The man needs to fucking cheer up. He needs to cheer up. Nothing assailed the company, nor withstood their passage, and yet steadily fear grew on the dwarf as he went on, most of all because he knew now that there could be no turning back. All the paths behind were thronged by an unseen host that followed in the dark. So time unreckoned passed, until Gimli saw a sight that he was ever afterwards loath to recall. Yeah, it's almost confirmed. This is Gimli's perspective. Gimli is telling this story, and I love that. The road was wide, as far as he could judge, but now the company came suddenly into a great empty space, and there were no longer any walls upon either side. The dread was so heavy on him that he could hardly walk. Away to the left something glimmered in the gloom as Aragorn's torch drew near. Then Aragorn halted and went to look what it might be. "Does he have no fear?" muttered the dwarf. "In any other cave, Gimli, son of Glóin, would have been the first to run to the gleam of gold, but not here. Let it lie." Nonetheless, he drew near and saw Aragorn kneeling, while Elladan held aloft both torches. Before him were the bones of a mighty man. Here we are. He had been clad in mail, and still his harness lay there whole, for the cavern's air was as dry as dust, and his hauberk was gilded. His belt was of gold and garnets, and rich with gold was the helm upon his bony head face downward on the floor. He had fallen near the far wall of the cave, as now could be seen, and before him stood a stony door closed fast. His finger bones were still clawing at the cracks. A notched and broken sword lay beside him, as if he had hewn at the rock in his last despair. Aragorn did not touch him, but after gazing silently for a while he rose and sighed. "Hither shall the flowers of Cymbeline come never unto the world's end," he murmured. "9 mounds and 7 there are now, green with grass, and though all the long years he has lain at the door that he could not unlock, whither does it lead? Why would he pass? None shall ever know. Well, that is not my errand," he cried, turning back and speaking to the whispering darkness behind. "Keep your hoards and your secrets hidden in the accursed years. Speed only we ask. Let us pass and then come. I summon you to the stone of Erech." I love that bit. It's my favorite fucking bit. Tolkien's like, "Ooh, it's spooky. What was he doing here? What was happening? Why do we have a skeleton crawling at the door?" And then Aragorn's like, "I wonder. I might know something about this. But that's not what I'm doing right now. It's not my fucking job. I have other things to do. Let's move it forward." Which, admittedly, is very funny of Aragorn. It's very funny that he did that. But we'll stop here because this was actually part of the Impossible Lord of the Rings quiz that I had that I made recently, which was very funny that when I did that. I still need to read through a bunch of that. I probably won't do that these days. It's been a while. But one of the questions was who is the skeleton clawing at the door? And this is the guy I'm talking about, and this is actually Baldur, who was one of the kings or princes of the Rohirrim, and he was particularly he was the end of the line. Actually, he went off to the piles of the dead because he thought he could do some impressive deed or whatever, and he just fucking died here. He died in here. And was never seen again, and that ended one of the patrilineal lines of the kings of Rohan, and his father's sister, her son, then became the king. I think this was this the end of Helm's line, or was this the end of? No, this was the end of Yor's line. This was the end of Yor's line. It definitely did, because it was him and then his brother died doing something else. Baldur died and then his brother died. Yeah, but then doesn't he die? He dies without a child or something? Maybe I am completely wrong about this. But yeah, I mean, yes, Aldor. No, you're right. Yeah, the first line doesn't end till Helm. Yeah. Why did I think that? There's something else about Baldur. I can't remember what it is. There's something else about him that makes his death important. He was just kind of dumb, is what I remember. He just kind of wasn't very good at his job. But anyway, yeah. So that's just a King of Rohan in there. So I'll explain what Aragorn won't to you. There was no answer, unless it were an utter silence more dreadful than the whispers before, and then a chill blast came in, which the torches flickered and went out, and could not be rekindled. Of the time that followed, 1 hour or many, Gimli remembered little. The others pressed on, but he was ever hindmost, pursued by a groping horror that always seemed just about to seize him, and a rumour came after him like a shadow sound of many feet. He stumbled on until he was crawling like a beast on the ground, and felt that he could endure no more. He must either find an ending and escape, or run back in madness to meet the following fear. Suddenly he heard the trickle of water, a sound hard and clear as the stone falling into a dream of dark shadow. Well, toodaloo. Have a good day. Have a good rest of your day, Jamie. And thank you very much for your stalwart control of the situation. Um, a stone falling into a dream of dark shadow. Light grew, and lo, the company passed through another gateway, high arched and broad, and a rill ran out beside them, and beyond, going steeply down, was a road between sheer cliffs, knife edged against the sky far above. So deep and narrow was that chasm that the sky was dark, and in it small stars glinted. Yet as Gimli after learned, it was still 2 hours ere sunset of the day on which they had set out from Dunharrow, though for all that he could then tell, it might have been twilight in some year later, or in some other world. Real, my beloved, yes. Yes, we've come to the Blackroot Vale, which is a lovely place, which we're about to come into. I didn't. This we're still going up the fucking endless way up through Dunharrow to the top of the Dunharrow thing. Anyway, the company now mounted again, and Gimli returned to Legolas. They rode in file, and evening came on in a deep blue dusk, and still Fear pursued them. Legolas, turning to speak to Gimli, looked back, and the dwarf saw before his face the glitter in the elf's bright eyes. Behind them rode Elladan, last of the company, but not the last of those that took the downward road. "The dead are following," said Legolas. "I see shapes of men, and of horses, and pale banners like shreds of cloud, and spears like winter thickets on a misty night. The dead are following." "Yes, the dead ride behind. They have been summoned," said Elladan. The company came at last out of the ravine, as suddenly as if they had issued from a crack in the wall, and there lay the uplands of a great vale before them, and the stream beside them went down with a cold voice over many falls. "Where in Middle-earth are we?" said Gimli, and Elladan answered, "We have descended from the uprising of the Morthond, the long chill river that flows at last to the sea that washes the walls of Dol Amroth. You will not need to ask hereafter how comes its name. Blackroot, men call it. The Morthond Vale made a great bay that beat up against the sheer southern faces of the mountain. Its steep slopes were grass grown, but all was grey in that hour, for the sun had gone, and far below lights twinkled in the homes of men. The vale was rich, and many folk dwelt there. Then, without turning, Aragorn cried aloud so that all could hear, "Friends, forget your weariness. Ride now. Ride. We must come to the stone of Erech ere this day passes, and long still is the way." So without looking back they rode the mountain fields, until they came to a bridge over the growing torrent, and found a road that went down into the land. Lights went out in house and hamlet as they came, and doors were shut. And folk that were afield cried in terror, and ran wild like hunted deer. Ever there rose the same cry in the gathering night, "The King of the Dead! The King of the Dead is come upon us at last!" Bells were ringing far below, and all men fled before the face of Aragorn. But the great company in their haste rode like hunters, until their horses were stumbling with weariness. And thus, just ere midnight, and in a darkness as black as the caverns in the mountains, they came at last to the hill of Erech. I know, Legolas is just like, I'll fuck you up. What if I just spooked you even more? Long had the terror of the dead lain upon that hill, and upon the empty fields about it. For upon the top stood a black stone, round as a great globe. Here we are, Alex. This is what we're talking about. Round as a great globe, the height of a man, though its half was buried in the ground. Unearthly it looked, as though it had fallen from the sky, as some believed. But those who remembered still the lore of Westernesse told that it had been brought out of the ruin of Numenor, and there set by Isildur at his landing. None of the people of the valley dared to approach it, nor would they dwell near, for they said that it was a trysting place of the shadow men, and there they would gather in times of fear, thronging round the stone and whispering. To that stone the company came and halted in the dead of night. Then Elrohir gave to Aragorn a silver horn, and he blew upon it, and it seemed to those that stood near that they heard a sound of answering horns, as if it was an echo in deep caves far away. No other sound they heard, and yet they were aware of a great host gathering all about the hill on which they stood, and a chill wind like the breath of ghosts came down from the mountains. But Aragorn dismounted, and standing by the stone he cried in a great voice, "Oath breakers, why have you come?" And a voice was heard out of the night that answered him, as if from far away, "To fulfill our oath and have peace." Then Aragorn said, "The hour is come at last. Now I go to Peлагea upon Anduin, and ye shall come after me. And when all this land is clean of the servants of Sauron, I will hold the oath fulfilled, and ye shall have peace, and depart for ever. For I am Elessar, Isildur's heir of Gondor." And with that he bade Halbarad unfurl the great standard which he had brought, and behold, it was black, and if there was any device upon it, it was hidden in the darkness. Then there was silence, and not a whisper nor a sigh was heard again all the long night. The company camped beside the stone, but they slept little because of the dread of the shadows that hedged them around. And when the dawn came, cold and pale, Aragorn rose at once, and he led the company forth upon the journey of greatest haste and weariness that any among them had known, save he alone, and only his will held them to go on. No other mortal men could have endured it, none but the Dunedain of the north, and with them Gimli the dwarf, and Legolas of the elves. They passed Tarlang's neck, and came into Lamedan, and the shadow host pressed behind, and fear went on before them until they came to Calambel upon Ciril, and the sun went down like blood behind Pinath Gelin, away in the west behind them. The township and the fords of Ciril they found deserted, for many men had gone away to war, and all that were left fled to the hills at the rumour of the coming of the King of the Dead. But the next day there came no dawn, and the grey company passed into the darkness of the shadow of the storm of Mordor, and were lost to mortal sight, but the dead followed them. Woo! Woo! Very spooky. It's spooky. It's a pooky. I just... Again, there are just some bits where you read it and it's like, oh, this is so cool. This looks so cool in my head. I love the way it looks in my head. I love reading this book. I love this book very much. I love all the books so much. I keep getting these fucking... I say keep. I've had about 3 of them. I keep getting these anonymous, like, low-key racist asks on Tumblr, where every single time I'm like, Tolkien was racist! This is not a surprise to any of you. Why is it a surprise? I say that, and then people will come into my ask like, I don't mean to be mean, but like, why do you read Tolkien if you hate him so much? And I'm like, shut up! No! I love this book. I love it so much. It reads so well. I love it. It just feels so good. Despite the fact, listen, I know I'm saying this and it's cool. I read it and it's cool. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this aspect. This is probably the worst part of the book for me. Even though I'm telling you I really like reading it, it's because Tolkien's doing the thing where he's really good at writing stuff and making stuff sound all atmospheric and whatever. But this is as a beat, this is a fucking narrative beat, I hate. Terrible. Why is this? What is happening? Like, Aragorn. I'm sorry, Kaz. Aragorn should have done one thing that was like that he did out of his skill. Like, he didn't save Gondor because of his skill. I'm sorry, Kaz. He saved it because his old great times I think 30 a billion grandpappy from his fucking mother's side, not his mother's side, his father's and then mother's side, was like, I'm gonna be shitty to these mountain people. I'm just gonna be shitty to these mountain people, so that my descendant may eventually, I guess, save.
Yeah, but anybody could do that. Anybody can do that. Jonathan could have done that. I'll say it again. I think what should have happened here is we should have had Aragorn be like, oh, I've looked into the Palantir, and it's terrible. But he could have is the problem. If he'd had this situation, if this was the problem, he could have, or fucking any other actually any other captain, Huron of the Keys could have. Um, um, it wasn't. I'm still being mean to Gandalf, to Aragorn. But the point is, what I mean is, just to counter my point. What should have happened was Aragorn should have been like, yes, I've seen into the Palantir. I see there's a Corsair. It's terrible. And then he should have been like, I need to go meet them. I need to go meet the Corsairs. I want to go meet the Corsairs because he did all of these wanderings. Let's get some payoff from these 40 years of wanderings. Like, let's get a payoff for that. Let's have him arrive and be like, hey, you're my friend, you're my friend, you're my friend. I'm the guy out of the west the guy out of the north that you liked that time, and I helped. And I'm like Thorongil everywhere, and I have like names for myself that are eagle in various different languages. And they're like, "Oh, oh, it's our guy." And then he's like, "Don't you hate Sauron?" And they're like, "Yeah, we fucking hate Sauron. It's just that he's kind of making us do this because we think we're gonna die anyway." And 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 then Aragorn's like, "But we won't die. We're men of the third age, and or maybe we will die, but we'll die anyway. And do you really want to be under Sauron's yoke this whole time? Don't you want to fight for the rights of your world and for your people? Don't you want to do this? Don't you want to defend yourself against ultimate evil? Don't you want to do this? You know me, I know you. You're good men. We're good men. We can do this. Come on!" And then like a bunch of the Corsairs are like, "Fuck yeah, we love this guy." And that would have been no. But what if he did though? It's a story. Like we could have had it that Aragorn a payoff. No, but okay, but even that could have been twisted to him knowing them. Like this could have happened. It could have been. It could have. Maybe he burned the fleet first, and then went back because he does other wanderings after that. So like he's only 40 when he leaves, and then he goes back and he sort of gets engaged to Arwen, and then he does other shit. He could have gone to like anything could have happened here. And I would have believed it when they said, like, we have to believe everything else. We have to believe everything else that's like, oh, there's a ghost. You think the ghosts are more likely than Aragorn being able? I mean, maybe actually, maybe it's more likely than Aragorn being able to convince anybody of anything. But it would have made me like Aragorn more. It would have made Aragorn a more like this would be something that he did. And this would be a thing that only he could do because he worked for it, because he figured it out. And then also it would be like, oh, he definitely should be king because he's so good at, getting people together and sorting out these, like that would have been a good character to have come in and say, I should deserve to be king. I would have been like, yes, yes, I guess you do. I still love yeah, I mean this is the problem. This is the problem. That's said it. But if that had been what had happened, I would like Aragorn more. Because it would have shown that Aragorn had done something. That Aragorn himself, that all of this wandering had a purpose other than just making him mysterious. But no, we have ghosts that he didn't even get. He didn't even decide to get them. He got told to get them. Elrond's like, go to the ghosts, and Aragorn's like, sure, and then he goes. Exactly. I just like we could have still had the ghosts. Like we don't have to get rid of the ghosts. Like it's cool. It looks cool. It sounds cool. I love reading it. Love it. Tolkien, you're so good at writing. But it would have been better because also the ghosts don't actually kill anybody. They just spook people away. They just make them run. It would have been better if they spooked all the Corsairs, and then Aragorn could have been like, "Hey, let's be third age men together. Let's fight for our lives and let's unify the continent again. And then the Corsairs could have like had a mutiny. Like some of them, only some of them would have agreed. Like the Corsairs have a mutiny, and they're like, yeah, we love this guy, and the other's like, fuck, who the fuck is this? He burned my grandfather's ship, fucking ages ago. Exactly. Let's actually reunite Gondor, as in bring them all together as a people who care about each other, not let's go and subjugate. Actual word used. Let's go and subjugate them after we've dealt with Sauron and all of his fucking racist ass examples of Middle Eastern people. All these men have intergenerational trauma. It's true, every single one of them do. It's true. Again, I'll go back to Lord of the Rings Online. I know this has been a very Lord of the Rings Online heavy episode, but there's one character called Eorzen who I love to bits. Actually, there's Jayax too, who is also my favorite. But Eorzen he's not a Corsair. He's part of the Easterlings, and there's this wonderful bit where he's bartered for safe passage to Gondor, where he can like after Sauron's defeat, he's bartered for safe passage, and you're taking him because he's like this captain of the Easterlings. He's very important. He has all of these things that he can tell you about Sauron's leftover nonsense and stuff, and so he has information that's useful. So they're taking him back to Minas Tirith, where he's going to be safe. He's given immunity. That's it. And all of the Gondorian soldiers are like all snooty at him. You're taking him along, and Gandalf is also there, and he's being snooty too. And Eorzen is just kind of staring into the sunset, and you and he are friends now, kind of. And it's very and he hears the Gondorian soldiers talking about how like, oh, the Easterlings just kind of rolled over for Sauron, or they were like worshipping him or whatever. And Eorzen turns around and says, if Sauron had attacked you first, your white walls would not have saved you, as they didn't save us. And you have no idea what we have suffered, and you don't know about the plagues and the dead children that I've had to pass by, and you don't know about the nursery rhymes that our children now sing because of this horrific subjugation by Sauron's forces that we had to suffer decades ago, and you didn't help. And if he'd done it to you first, this would be a different conversation. And it's just that you were in the position that you were in and it hits so hard. It hits so hard, and it's beautifully done. Beautifully done, and it's like doing what Tolkien couldn't have. It's doing what Tolkien couldn't have, which is give a heartbreakingly emotive history to these people that we barely ever hear about, and they're only ever like in the book like derided or anything, and then we barely even see them in the film either. And I love it. JX too. JX is a Corsair. You just befriend him and he's the best. Yeah, mood. Lots to think about. Yeah. I think since we've come to the end of that chapter, I will stop there. We're at chapter 3, the Muster of the Rohirrim, and I think probably we will leave it there for tonight. But thank you so very much for coming. This actually still managed to be about the same amount of time that I do usually, but it was good fun. It was good fun, and we all came out of it still liking each other. So that's a plus. That's a plus. You're very welcome, Raglos. I had a great time. Thank you all for coming. Yes, I feel revitalized. I love talking about Tolkien so much. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So yeah, gonna keep going. Mondays. Yeah, it was lovely to have you on live as well, Spectraling. I'm very glad to have you. I hope your drawing went well, and I hope you'll show us when you afterwards. And Des, tell us about
You have to remember to tell us in the Discord about Denethor seeing Aragorn in the Palantir when he talks to Sauron. When Aragorn talks to Sauron, you need to do that. Yes. I think that's it. Again, thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you all next week. Let me know. Let me know. That's true.